Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Paul, I'm with the DiceyReview.com, and today we're going to be looking at the 2 to 5 player game Fabled Fruit from designer Friedemann Friese, released by Stronghold Games. Alright, so we're going to begin by showing you how to set the game up. I do want to quickly mention that the game mentions a number of these components in setup for the first game. Realistically, you won't see these components during your first or second playthrough, just because they come in with new locations throughout the game as those are worked in. So I'm going to go ahead and leave those out just so that you can see the basic framework of how to play the game, and with any questions you can email me if you want further clarification. Alright, so to set the game up, you're going to open up the big packs of location cards that you see that will look like this. Now these cards will be numbered from 1 all the way to 59. We're only going to be using the first 6 for the setup, and what you're going to do is you're going to place those out in 6 small stacks to create the playing area. Now, as you can see, we've gotten the 6 locations set up, and there are 4 cards to each of these stacks, and there are 4 of each location in the game. And what I want you to notice is the small number up at the top left of each of the cards. This is a really cool aspect of the game. They call this a Fable game. And basically, these cards will always be put back in this numerical order, but the cool thing is as you work through this deck, you can start to see more and more new locations. As you see, the next location, number 7, over on the right, is going to be the next location that will be unlocked and placed out. So there's tons of variability with the game, where you can see all kinds of new locations with new actions coming out throughout the game as it progresses. Now, I've only used about 1/3 of the full location stack. I've placed it over there on the right. There are more stacks of cards that will unlock different abilities, as you can see right here. There are 59 different locations, so we're just using a small portion of that stack, and we will work through the deck the more actions we unlock. After placing locations, you will want to shuffle the 60 fruit cards and place them next to the playing area as a draw stack. Next, you'll want to deal 2 fruit cards to each player. This will form their starting hand, and you want to be sure to leave room for a discard space next to the fruit cards. Next, each player will want to choose a wooden player piece along with a cardboard cutout that matches their chosen character. Next, the starting player will be chosen randomly, and that player will be given one of the extra animals not in play, and that will mark them as the start player for the remainder of the game. Now that we've done that, we're ready to show you how to play. Players will take turns in a clockwise direction. Each turn, you must move your character to a new location. When you move to a new location, you must either use the action printed on the card, or if you have enough juices in your hand, you can buy one of the locations by paying the required amount back to the discard pile. On your turn, you must move your animal to a new location. When you move to a new location, if there are any other characters already at that location, you will give away any fruit cards in your hand for each character at that location. You'll give 1 fruit card face down to the controlling player. So in this instance, the green player would give 1 face down fruit card to the player controlling the sheep and the player controlling the penguin. If you don't have enough fruit to give away to all controlling players, you choose who gets the fruit cards that you give out. And if you don't have any fruit cards in your hand, you can move to any location without having to give fruit to any other player. After moving to a location, you must either use the action printed on the location or use fruit cards from your hand to buy one of the locations into your personal supply. We're not going to look through locations in the future deck, but we will look through each of the 6 starting locations and explain their abilities. If you come to this first location, it simply allows you to draw 2 fruit cards from the top of the stack. The player would draw the 2 cards, and then their turn would be over. If at any time you need to draw fruit cards and there are none left in the draw stack, you will shuffle all of the cards in the discard pile to form a new draw stack and then continue drawing until you have enough. The second location allows you to give 1 banana from your hand to any other player, who must then give you 2 fruits of their choice from their hand. This action will occur fairly frequently throughout the game. If at any time a player is forced to give away some of their components, they choose the fruit. It's also important to note that if any location mentions specifically another player, that means you can give something to any other player. If it says any player, you can also include yourself in the targeting of that action. Many locations will also include a signpost. It's important to note that this signpost indicates that you must be able to fulfill the requirements of the action to be able to take the full action. If you can't fulfill these requirements, then you're allowed to instead draw one fruit card from the stack. So for instance, if you were to go to this location but didn't have a banana card, you would simply draw a card from the top of the stack, and that would be your action. Location number 3 allows a player to draw one fruit card from the top of the stack, and then target another player who must then give them 3 fruit cards from their hand. After looking through all 4 cards, the player who went to this location will then give the targeted player 3 fruit cards back. This can include the card that was drawn, or it could just be the cards that were given to the player taking this action. Once again, you'll want to take note of the signpost. If there are no other players in the game that have 3 fruit cards, the player visiting this location would instead just draw 1 card from the stack. Location number 4 allows players to basically offer up an auction. The player who visits this location will lay out face up all of the cards in their hand. Each other player will then have a choice to take one of the cards that was listed face up into their hand. For every card taken in this way, the player visiting this location will be allowed to draw 2 fruit cards from the top of the stack. After each other player has either taken or declined the offer, this player will take up all of the fruit cards that were left face up. If a player visits this location and has 0 fruit cards to offer, they will instead draw 1 card. If a player visits location number 5, they will be able to discard all of the cards from their hand and then draw back up to 3 fruit cards. It's important to note that you can visit this location with 0 cards in your hand and you'll still get to draw 3 cards. Location number 6 allows players to push their luck. When you visit location number 6, you will be able to discard fruits from the top of the stack until the player either wants to take all of the revealed fruit into their hand or until a player reveals a fruit that's already been revealed once. So in this instance, all 4 fruits are different. But if a player were then to reveal a card that was already out there, like this pineapple, they would have to discard all of these cards and they would gain nothing. If the player had chosen to stop after these 4 cards were revealed, they would get to take all 4 cards into their hand. When visiting a location, instead of using the printed action, a player can, if they want to, purchase the fruit card by discarding what's shown at the bottom. So in this instance, this location would require that the green player discard these 5 fruit from their hand. It's important to note that some locations will also include a smoothie marker. This can be met by paying any fruit from your hand. When you have paid the required cost for the location, you get to take the top card from that location stack and then place it face down in front of you, showing that you have scored 1 juice. Whenever you buy a fabled fruit, you will then need to take the top card from the new location stack, and if there's no cards out that match that location, you will form a new place on the play area. If a card from this location is already on the play area, you will simply stack the new card on top of the previous one in the face-up area. As soon as this new location is revealed, it's available to be used by all players or purchased by all players. If you are on a location and you buy the last card of that location, you will simply take your player piece and place it back in front of you to be used on your next turn. To win the game, players will need to collect a certain amount of fabled juices. It's different depending on the number of players. In a 3-player game like we have set up here, the first player to collect 4 fabled juices would be declared the winner. As soon as any player has the required number of fabled juices, each other player would then be allowed 1 turn so that everyone has equal turns. The player to the right of the start player would receive the last turn. The player with the most fabled juices would win, and in the case of a tie, the player who has the most fruit cards left in their hand would win. If there's still a tie, the victory is shared. Now to set up for the next game, what you'll do is you will have a certain number of cards laid out in locations as you play through the game. You will reveal new locations and you'll have some left over from your previous games. What you'll do is you'll gather them all up and place them in numerical order, and then you will put them on top of the stack that you are going to draw from next. And any cards that were turned into Fabled juices throughout the game will be separated in the box. You'll put them in a little baggie and you won't use them on your next play, so that way you'll move more and more through the deck and see more of the cards. Alright everybody, that's our video. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at thedicey@gmail.com. You can always listen to our podcast, the Dicey Review Podcast, on iTunes, Stitcher, and any other podcast app. You can visit our website, thedicey.review.com, to read our full written reviews and more of our written thoughts over there. And you can always check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thedicey review. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.